Alright, in this video I want to show you guys how to get started doing the Lego Mindstorm with the NXT robot. So the software program that is on your computer will be this one right here. This little orange button here, Lego Mindstorm NXT. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, open it up. And to do your programming here, basically the first thing that once this opens is to get started, you'll click on this little white piece of paper looking type thing. It says new program. Go ahead and click on that, and this will get you to your project board. Now, basically the element that we're going to be using here is this tool right here. It's called the Move tool. We're going to go ahead and left click on that and drag one of those down here. And this basically will allow you to control your motors. So you have two motors on our NXT robot. They will be plugged into C and B, basically those two ports. Then once you click on this motor, you'll see that it has this like blue highlight around it. That means that motor is ready to be changed down here if you want to make any changes to it. So right now we do have it on B and C. You can see the two checks off. That usually is by default. We want to make sure that we're going forward. So here's the directions. You can either go forward or backwards. In this case, we're going to click on, make sure we're on this forward button. And then we're going to leave the steering basically straight. Okay, so we'll just leave that alone, leave that right in the middle. Our power level we can leave at 75. That's the power level right here. And then you have durations. Now you can make some changes here if you wanted to. You could do it for degrees or you could do it for seconds. But in our case, rotations is probably the way we want to go. And we'll leave it on break as well. So for the first task going down and back, basically we're going to go ahead and change this to probably 10 rotations. We'll start off with that. You might have to make changes to that later, but we'll see how that goes. And then we can go ahead and probably put our second task down here, or second element that we want it to do. So I'm going to grab another one of these move pieces here. Everything else is going to be the same until we get down to steering, because now we need to make a 180-degree turn. Now you can either make it turn left or you can make it turn right. I don't care which way you go. I'll make this turn all the way to the right there. And then we're going to leave it at 1 rotation right now and see what that gets us. Yeah, so we're not quite sure how far that will go. We'll have to see how that where it's at. You might have to make some changes to it. Maybe make it 1.1 or 1.2 or something like that. Or if it goes not quite enough, you might have to make it 0.8 or 0.9. And that's basically just kind of like breaking down the rotations into decimals. All right, we'll leave again on break. Then we can go ahead and click the download button. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we change the name up here. It's always a good idea to kind of change the name, leave it rather than leaving it untitled. It really doesn't matter too much for these because most of the screens on these NXTs do not work anyway. And then when you go ahead and run the program, basically after you download it, generally that center button on the robot will allow you to run the program. So you just would hit that 4 times in a row, and that will run the program. If you've just downloaded it and you already are in that program and you download it a second time, probably wouldn't need to do it 4 times. You'll probably just have to hit it once and it will run. So it kind of depends on where you're at as far as whether you're been working on the program or not. But it's the first time that you're downloading it, you're going to have to hit that center button 4 times in order to get it to run. And again, like I said, you can leave it as Untitled 1, or if you want to change the name of it, you would just click in here, or actually you would go up here to File, Save As, and then you can come up with a name. If you want to call it Down and Back, you can call it Down and Back. And that would be fine. You just go ahead and click Save, and you'll see that it should change up here to Down and Back. And then you go ahead and click this button right here. This is your download button. I don't have the NXT connected, that's why it's going to do this. Sometimes you might get this message, and if that happens and you can't get it to download, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and kind of flip it over, pop a battery out and pop it back in. That kind of resets it, and then turns it back on, and then try to download it again and see if that works. Sometimes you have to do that multiple times to get it to work, but they do eventually, will eventually download for you. If you're still having problems, when I come back on Tuesday, then you guys can, we can fix it for you. Okay, so anyway, that hopefully will get you guys started on this and get you guys going. When you guys are doing the maze, or not the maze, I'm sorry, when you guys are doing the cones, basically it's a little bit different. So in this case, I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna take this one off, and we're gonna go back to this first one. To do the cones, instead of 10 rotation, obviously we're going to probably go straight for 2 rotations on the first move. So we go start at the line, we're going to go forward a little bit. I'm going to also change it from break to coast. I want it to coast right into the next program that we're going to be doing, or the next action. So we're going to take this next move action, bring it down, and now we're going to make it turn. So we can either make it turn left or we can make it turn right, but we're not going to go all the way like we did when we did down and back. We're going to probably leave a couple little notches there, one way or the other, and then we can kind of adjust how many rotations you make. You start with 1 and see what that gets you. If you might have to make it 2 or less, I'm not quite sure. You might have to go 1.5. So you kind of play around with the numbers and see where it gets you. Then once you've turned, you can make it on coast. You're going to add another one, maybe go straight again for a rotation or 2. And then you'll turn back the other direction. You'll take another one and turn back in the other direction. And usually you can do the opposite of whatever you did on the first one. So you can kind of use that as your guide. Basically, you're just going to weave in and out of those cones and hopefully get back to the other side. You do not have to go all the way there and back. You just have to go down once through the cones and you guys are done. Hopefully this will get you guys going on this, and then we will see where we're at tomorrow.